Okay, so starting with like ETABS is a structural analysis and the design software. Okay, primarily what happened as far as the development is concerned, that initially there used to be software by the name Nastran. So if some of you remember the initial discussion which I was doing in the advanced structural analysis course also, so there used to be a software called Nastran which was developed by MSC Corporation, and it was kind of a project given by the NASA to design some structural analysis software. Okay, but it was not commercially available. So probably the first commercial software which started making much to the civil consultancy firms, that was the StatPro. So StatPro was being used primarily for the design of the general building structures as well as for the spatial structures tanks or the silos or similar kind of other designs. Okay, but the interface of the StatPro, I do not know if some of you have worked. It is little complicated, and also it is more like an old video game kind of a system. Okay, so over the time CSI, which is the Computers and Structure Corporation, so they started developing their software, initially SAP and then also parallelly ETABS. One thing which they worked primarily was the user interface. So the user interface of ETABS and SAP both is comparatively very strong when we see the StatPro today. Okay, and that is one of the reason that many of the industries now they primarily work with the ETABS as ETABS or SAP as a basic software. Difference among any of them in terms of their capabilities also exist. Okay, so it is not that it is only the interface which is different. ETABS and SAP has kind of converted themselves into finite element based software, whereas the StatPro to a larger set of problems is still remain to be a metrics method based system. Okay, so recently now they are putting the more plugins into the system so that the overall transformation to the finite elements setup can be provided. But right now the calculations or the set of analysis which we do from the ETABS is very close to what any finite element commercial like Abacus or any other software will also give. Only thing is we are analyzing the system as a 1D system. That is one of the simplification which we do. But overall, it is much more efficient in terms of its total capabilities and analyzing the large scale problems. Okay. Second major difference between ETABS and SAP also exists. That is in terms of how do they handle the problems related to slab designs. Okay. So ETABS is considered to be very efficient software when it comes to the frame structures. So if you have a steel building, if you have a concrete frame skeletal structure, ETABS can do a very efficient design. But once it comes to a slabs, wherever you have a design of a slab or the portion of the diaphragms which you are going, so ETABS generally don't have a proper design setup for the slab designs. Okay, so slab is generally not designed in the ETABS. We either use SAFE, which is additional software for the design of the slabs, or otherwise in the SAP we can do the design of the slabs, but still some people don't find like they don't feel very comfortable with it. Okay, so starting with this now, once we start with the ETABS, this is the primary window which appears in front of us. Okay, uh, the version which I'm using, that is ETABS 17, but as you can see ETABS 19 is already in the market. Okay, so maybe in our department systems we have also ETABS 18, I think, if I'm not if I'm correct, ETABS 18 or ETABS 17 at least will be in our department systems. So we start with the new model. If any of the existing model is also you are working on, that also you can start with. So the moment you start the new model, the first thing I don't know if it is visible. Is it the fonts and other things, are they visible to everyone?
No.
Is it too small or because there will be some issue? I don't know if it can be increased in the font size. Is there any difficulty in seeing what is there on the screen?
No, sir.
Okay, it's visible.
Yes, sir. So we can zoom in little bit so it is visible.
Okay, fine. Okay, once we can go through it. If anywhere you don't find some of the lines visible, just let me know. Okay. So this is the first step which comes in where we want to initialize our model, but before that we need to select that what kind of reference with respect to the design codes, with respect to the units, or the with respect to the standard sections which are available in the market. So what reference we are going to use for those. Okay. So if you have already used some earlier model, you can take or you can use the settings of those earlier models also. So if you have already created some other file, you can just select that particular file. It will send you to the link, and there you can select the already provided properties from the earlier model. If you are starting from the first model, or you want to start from something very new, so you just select the built-in settings which you can change also. Okay, so here in the units you have US customary, metric SI, and metric MKS. We select the units. The steel section database we are selecting again Indian, but there are number of options. Okay, so ETABS generally covers nearly most of the standard codes from European American and also the like other codes which are given in the system. Okay, for the steel design code we have selected 800 2007, and for the concrete we have selected 456. Okay, so once you select it, then it automatically takes care of number of provisions which are given in these codes. Okay, so some of the provisions from code to code differ. So based upon that, designs which you are creating from the ACI code or Indian code or the European code could also be different. Okay, in terms of their percentage reinforcement or some of the other criterias. So that is why if you are specifically looking for, say, the Indian conditions, so you are supposed to carry the Indian standard codes. That is why we have selected those at this moment. Okay. The next thing which appears in front of us is that how we want to make the model. Okay, so generally the starting point, as I already told earlier, that the skeletal structure forms are one of the specialty of the ETABS design. Okay, so ETABS was in fact initially introduced to work with the steel structures and the general frame design of the systems. Okay, so we initially select here that how we are going to select the grid lines in the given structure. Okay, so X and Y directions happen to be the directions in which are like the grid of the given system, and the story which is like the how many number of stories we are providing in the system, that can be changed through these particulars of the system. Okay, so say for example, initially if I just want to go with one very simple problem, I don't want to take a complete building frame even. If I just want to go and analyze one portal frame, a 2D portal frame kind of a system. Okay, so what I can do, someone's microphone is on, I think. So what I can do, I can select the grid lines in the X direction as 2. In the Y direction, I can just keep one grid line. Okay, so what is my idea? I just want to create a 2D frame structure. I don't want to provide the system as a complete structural or a multi-story building frame with number of bays actually, but rather I'm only providing a simple 2D frame system. And the story height, in the number of stories, we provide one story. Okay, so we cannot decrease, we cannot go lesser than one. Okay, so that is the minimum which we have to provide. Okay, the grid spacing, that also you can change between the any of the two grids. So let me say that I'm providing 5-meter distance. Okay, along the Y direction, I'm not providing any of the, there is only one single grid line, so it doesn't matter whether this value is 8 or anything else. Okay, so I don't know if these values are making sense to you at this moment, but I'll just show you now what does it actually mean. Okay, so after that I will select here the grid, which is this particular part. If I would simply select blank, that means there is no issue of providing the grid lines or anything else. Okay, I just get a blank screen, and over that I can start assembling my members of the given system. Okay, so if I select grid only, then what happens? The moment I press OK, it gives me this screen, which is the working space of the ETABS model. Okay, any of the ETABS model will be provided in this working space. This is the plan view. As you can see here, it is showing me the given system which I provided as a 2 grid lines in the x direction. So this is 1 and this is 2 in the x direction, the 2 grid lines. Whereas if I see the y is actually the provided with a single grid line in the given system. So this is not any grid line. Okay, so don't get confused with this. This is just showing the dimension of the system. So over here you can actually see it. This is a 3D representation which is showing me the given grid system which I have created. In the x direction I have taken 2 grid spacing. So there is 1 point here, 1 point here, which are 2. So grid spacing between these two is by the 5 meters, which I have provided as an input. In the y direction there is no grid line. Okay, so I have provided nothing in this direction. And this is the z direction, which happens to be the story height direction. We have provided single story, so it has provided one single story having a default height of, I think, 4 meters. Okay, is it okay with everyone? Okay, so this is like just something that we have provided. So we have not connected even members. We have not connected anything, but I've just provided a grid. So this grid is for a reference that, like, we initially while starting a cursive writing, we get some ruled books. So it is just like the similar thing. So we have just got some lines in the given system on which we now can start drawing our members. Okay. Okay. So over here we have some of the options which are considered, or which are the systems for the drawing. Okay. Whenever we have decided to provide a beam member or a column member or a slab member, we can just draw those members from these quick toolbars. Right now we have not defined any of it, so we will go step by step to define those, all the parameters. The next thing is, this is right now the plan view. I can also see the elevation view of the given system. Okay, so if I just select the elevation view, it asks me that at which level I want to see the elevation view. Okay, so right now the numbering is not provided. So say this is A and this is B of the given system. So I can see the elevation view at the different levels. Okay, so say if I select A, so this is something which appears to me. Okay, at the level of the A, if I'm just seeing the elevation view, that means this is something which is appearing to me. From the side view, I'm just able to see this particular part. Is that okay with everyone? If I just change again my elevation view, I go to say 1, which is the front face of the system. So now I'm looking from this side. Okay, so this is A, this is B, and this is the kind of given system, which is the story height, and this is the total length of the grid line between the x direction. Okay, so this is how we can represent the given views of the system by changing profiles from here. Okay, anyways, right now this is how we just work with the grid. We can just change the grid profiles in a different manner also. Okay, so initially the first thing which we start with is to define the given systems which we are working with. Okay, like if you are starting any problem, so before providing the given problem system, you must know that what is the material which you are working with, what is the kind of cross section which you will be working. Okay, and then what are the different properties of those systems, and then finally you need to know what is the load which is acting on your system. Okay, so we go in the similar manner. So I will request all of you that you just keep on somewhere right particular steps of the design. Okay, so the first step which we do is to go to the material properties. We try to define that what materials we will be using in the analysis. Okay, so when we go to the material, right now there are no set of materials which are like defined based upon the Indian standards sections, or the set of dimensions, or the set of governing code requirements of the IS Indian standard codes. So what we can do, we can define a new material. Okay, so over here it asks us that what set of material we require. Okay, so reason is India. Then material type, we are selecting right now the, say for example, a RCC building. So we are looking for the concrete and the rebars. Okay, so don't get confused between the steel and the rebar. Whenever we design something in the ETABS, steel refers to the structural steel part, whereas the reinforcements which we provide in the system, those are referred by the rebar. Okay, so there is a difference between both of them. Even in terms of their steel grade or the rebar grade, you can see the difference. Okay, anyways, first I select the concrete, standard is Indian, and then the grade we can change. Okay, which grade of concrete we are looking for. Say M30 only we select, and this is how we now come to the material property definition. Okay, so this window which opens up is showing us the property of the material which is already provided as per the Indian standard code. Okay, so what is the standard density of M30 grade of concrete? What is the modulus of elasticity and other material parameters? Those all requirements are provided. Okay. If you want to change any of them, or if you feel that you have done some new kind of material which you are working with, you can accordingly change these properties. Okay, you can change these properties, and according to those properties, say for example, if I just say that this is a property which I change here, so according to this change, some of the properties which depend upon the elasticity modulus will also accordingly change, right? So the shear modulus has automatically changed to the new value because I've selected an isotropic material. So shear modulus is dependent on the elastic modulus in the Poisson's ratio. Fine. The second thing is that we can also show that the nonlinear material parameters can be introduced in the given system. Okay. Maybe we will get one time to do one nonlinear material part also. So in general, the concrete nonlinear systems we do not define based upon any existing models, but we try to define by some user defined curves. Okay, so if you have, say for example, you did some experiment in the lab based upon which you got a stress strain curve for a concrete system which happened to be a nonlinear curve. So what you can do, you can in fact provide that user defined parameters here by adding rows and columns so that stress strain values are provided by you. So what will happen now, your provided stress strain curve, which is a nonlinear material set, will be the one which will be considered while analyzing the given structure. Okay, so even the functionality related to the nonlinear material parameter is available with the ETABS. Second is material damping parameters. When we will be doing the analysis for the dynamic case, some of the times we require to provide the damping parameters in the given system when we are doing a vibration analysis. So what will be the specific damping parameter of the system for modal analysis cases, that can also be changed with respect to the system. And then finally we have the time dependent properties. So some of the times like creep and shrinkage effects are also provided in the given material parameter behavior. So when you are actually considering some long time behavior of your structure, so you need to provide this time dependent behavior. Okay, of course the parameters right now are all not considered in the design because the default setup of the system is that it only considers the linear elastic model. If you want to include the nonlinear material or time dependent model or with the damping parameters, you have to accordingly introduce those terms. Okay, so you have to go to the specific clause of the IS code, figure out what are the coefficients of the creep parameter, and then provide it accordingly in the given system. Okay, so there are all these specifications of the different codes which provide these different parameters. Accordingly, you can select any one of it which you are working with, and you can provide your parameters of the system. Okay, anyways, so right now we are not changing any of the other parameter part. We are simply selecting the material to be an isotropic and M30 grade of concrete, and that is how we have identified the new material. Okay, so this is one. Second, one more material we need to define, which is the rebars in the given system. Okay, because as we are doing, say for example, any RCC building, so we need to provide these reinforcement also. So for the reinforcement, we need to select what grade of steel we will be using. Say HYSD 415, which is generally utilized. So we select it, and it again takes us to the similar window as we were seeing earlier with the concrete system. Okay, we can either go with these default properties, or we can change the material parameter, damping parameters of the given system. Okay, and as you know that the steel system does not undergo creep and shrinkage behavior. The time dependent behavior of the system is not available. So that is why these parameters are not available for the rebar system. Okay. So once you have identified it, so M30 and HYSD 415. So okay, fine. So these two are also now included in this list. So I will do just okay. That means the two materials which I have just defined, M30 grade of concrete and HYSD 415 bars, are now available to me for next set of procedure. Okay. So this was the first thing where we have defined the material parameters for the given system. Okay. I will suggest that at any moment, if you feel, because doing with the software, there are so many options. Okay, so some of the options may be skipped in between while I'm explaining to you. So if you find that some of the option you are interested to know, you can just ask me. Okay. Next, we go in the same define section. The next part is section properties. Okay, so once your material is defined, then you need to select the section. Okay, so in general, the today's problem which we will first take up, that is the analysis of the section, and then we will do the design. So what does it mean that the analysis and design process, the way we are doing is we are identifying the section first. We are like deciding on the cross section dimensions. We are not providing the area of the reinforcement initially. We will only design for the area of reinforcement. Okay, so we will not be changing the cross section dimension by the design process. If you require it, if some of the sections come out to be overstressed, then manually we will come back to the first step and again change the section profile. Okay. So does it make sense? Like in the design process, some of the times people may also provide a code, or they can also come up with some strategy in which you just need to provide the approximate dimensions of the system. It will keep on doing the iterative design and figure out the cross-section dimension as well as the amount of the steel which will be more efficient to design the particular loading. But instead of doing it, what we are doing, we are identifying a specific fixed section. The section is decided and that will remain fixed. Then we are only changing the amount of the reinforcement over it, and that is what we are calling as a design process. Okay. If we figure out that the section is not safe, then we will manually change the section. Okay. But other way is also possible. Okay, that is also possible. Maybe we can see in the steel design. Okay, so we go to the section properties, we select the frame section. So right now, as we are selecting the beam or column member, so we go to the frame section. If we are going with this general slab of the given system, so accordingly I can go to the slab section also. Okay, so already there is, like, it is enough populated. So what we will do, okay, so out here now I don't have much the sections which I want to work with. Okay, so again what I will do, I will define some of the sections. So the sections which were earlier available here, those were the sections which are by default provided in the section. Okay, if you have some of the sections which are okay with you, you can select out of that list. But if you are looking for some new sections, you can go to this add new property, and then over here you can define what section you are looking for. Okay, so concrete is the section which we are defining right now. So we can either select a rectangular, circular, or T sections or other kind of section profiles. Accordingly, steel sections which are thin walled, those are also provided in the section. Composite section with the steel part, that is also available. And then these are the special sections in which, like, say sometimes we need to provide a list of sections out of which we will need to automate the design process. Then some of these sections we use. Okay, so this auto select list particularly, we can select number of sections out of this, and then we can provide the optimized process on the design out of all those selected sections. Okay, anyways, so right now we are going with the concrete section, and that to rectangular, say for example. So it opens up this window in front of me. So the moment I have selected concrete and rectangular section, so it gives me some default section which is available in it. Okay, so if I'm selecting this section for the beam member, so let me say that I provided by the name beam 1. Okay, I don't know if some of you have seen the drawings which are provided in the industrial companies, or when people do the design. So they number the beams by beam 1, beam 2, beam 3, or B1, B2, B3 this way. Okay, so same way we are just providing the beam name as a. Okay, so material we need to select. So I think now you can guess that the material will be M30. Okay, then the third option is notional size. Okay, so notional size, what does it mean? That we have selected, if you remember earlier, we were selecting the creep and shrinkage parameters. Okay, so creep and shrinkage, what do they try to decrease the material strength over the time period. Okay, so on a long term basis, if the system is subjected to certain load, so due to the creep and shrinkage effects, the system starts to lose out some of the strength. Okay, but the behavior of creep is also dependent on the section dimension, creep as well as shrinkage. If you have a section which is comparatively very big, your creep and shrinkage parameters will be taking longer time to propagate into the total section. Okay, because if you know that how the shrinkage takes place, it is some moisture difference which is inside the given concrete, and over the time period, due to this continuous heating or cooling of the system, some of the moisture content starts to generate these pores or the cracks inside the system. Okay, so this removal of the moisture which is taking place in the system is finally giving rise to the shrinkage patterns in the system. Now, if the dimension of the cross section is larger, then the shrinkage parameters which are affecting the system on a longer time will also be delayed. Okay, so smaller size of the cross section means it is very easy for the section to undergo the shrinkage effects, because easily the system shrinkage behavior will appear up to the surface or appear up to the boundaries of the given element. So using this particular part, there is a notion, we say it is notional size of the section. So it is defined as the 2 times area of the given cross section divided by the perimeter of the given section. Okay, so this is as per the IS code. If any one of you like to note it down, you can write it as, this is given in the IS code 1343, which is for the pre-stress analysis, in the clause 6.2.4. Okay, you can just check it there, that what is the notional size of the given section. So the basic philosophy is, if your section dimensions are bigger, you have a delay, shrinkage or creep behavior. That means the time dependent behavior which you have provided to the system will also be provided some with extra factors so that it is further. Okay, if your section dimensions are say smaller, then you don't need to like decrease that time part, but your shrinkage or creep parameters will try to take with their own regular time. Okay, so there is this notion size which we provide, which is defined as the 2 times area of the cross section divided by the perimeter, and based upon it, IS code gives you some of the factors which the section can take for evaluation of the time dependent parameter. Okay, so right now, as we are not providing the time dependent behavior, so by default this value or this factor is 1. Okay, if any of the time I'm providing some of the creep or shrinkage behavior in the system, then I have to change this factor as per the IS code, that what is the notional size of the section. Okay, is this okay with everyone? Okay, so then this is a display color. Like when you are representing these systems in the overall drawing, in those cases you can just provide them with the colorful representations. Okay, so which part is of the concrete section, which part is of the specific rebar section, that can be provided by the colors also. So that is why these colors appear. Okay, these are just notes which are just provided, like if you want to write some specific particular comment to the given section, that what you are considering here, that you can provide. Okay, section shape, as we have already selected, it is concrete rectangular, but here again you have all these options, okay, which we have earlier seen. Okay, now we come to the dimension of the section. Okay, so let me just say that I'm providing a dimension of a small beam, say depth of 500 and width of 400. Okay, fine. Is it okay with everyone? Please stop me wherever you find there is any doubt, just stop me there. Okay, then we come to the property modifiers. Okay, so this is one of the important part which earlier, still it is not available in the IS code, but ACI code provides this provision. In the recent version of the National Building Code, which is NBC, sorry, the National Building Code, which is recently introduced by the government of India. Now it takes care of the property modifiers also. Okay, so I hope the next revision of the IS 456, which will be available, they will provide the property modifiers in the IS code also. Okay. Now, what is the property modifier? Anyone does have any? What is a property modifier, or have they heard about it?
No, sir.
No, sir. Okay. See, we are working with the RCC sections, reinforced means primarily the concrete sections. Okay. So once these sections are designed, we also know that the design philosophy or the limit state based philosophy is based upon the very simple principle that section will undergo cracking. Okay, the section will undergo cracking, and beyond that cracking, only the resistance of the compression flange will be started. Does everyone agree with this part? So the section which we actually take in any given RCC building is designed always that it will undergo cracking. So cracking has to take place in the system, then only the system will start to yield for the further parts. Okay, the concrete sections and in the tension phase will always be undergoing the cracking. So once the cracking is placed in the concrete section in the tensile phase, then only it will start transferring those tensile stresses to the rebars or the reinforcements of the given section. So what effectively happens that if you are considering that you have a cracked section, your effective property or say stiffness of the material cross section decreases. Okay, so if you have a section which is completely intact and if you have a section which is cracked, so cracked section has a lesser strength or a lesser I should say the lesser inertia, second moment of area of this section. So property modifiers try to take care of this reduction in the material strength with respect to the cracking which takes place in the RCC cross sections. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes,
So
sir.
in general, the I'm just taking the guidelines as per the ACI code. So ACI 318 provides the guideline for property modifiers, and it says as per the property modifier. So we will not modify the area of the section. We will only modify the stiffness coefficients of the given system. So this is the torsional coefficient which so right now we are designing it as a beam member. So for a beam, the modifier value is considered as 0. Okay, so you can now understand that we are actually removing or we are actually reducing the cross section this stiffness characteristic by a factor of 0.35. Okay, so finally we have the modifier which we have introduced in the torsional constant, moment of inertia about the second axis and the axis 3. Okay, mass, weight and everything else will remain same. Those will not be changing. Okay, fine. Finally we come to the reinforcement. Okay, reinforcement, now as we are designing a beam member, so here you can see the first option that it is either PM2 M3 design or M3 design. Okay, so PM2 M3 design means it is a design which is being done for a system which is subjected to P, which means the axial load, M2 which means the bending along the lateral direction, M3 which means the bending along the main transverse direction. So this is the behavior of the column, but we are not defining this particular cross section for the column. We are defining it for a beam member. Okay, so I need to first change it to the beam section. So for beam, we select the M3 design. M3 design means it is only a beam which is bending in direction 3. Okay, about the axis 3 it is bending. Is that okay with everyone? It's a pure flexural system. Okay, so rebar material we can select out of here, that HYSD 415, which we have already defined. Okay, we have defined, that is why this material choice is available to us. Okay, and then we can provide the like position of the cover which we will provide in the concrete section. Most of the time, even if you don't provide these values at this moment, it will work fine with you. Okay, because first you will analyze, and right before the design process you will again get these options to change these values. Okay, but anyways, I'm just providing this value. Say we provide a cover of 30 mm on both the sides. What is the standard cover for M30 grade of concrete otherwise? Does anyone have any idea? Okay, anyways, you can check from the IS 456 that what is the like cover which we need to provide for the M30 grade of concrete, minimum cover, and based upon that you can accordingly change this value. Okay, but I hope it is somewhere around 20 or 25. Okay, so this is how we have now defined the section, and we can finally select this section which will appear here as a beam 1. Is everyone okay with this part?
Yes.
Just let me know if there is any doubt in this part. Okay, then we go to the next part. Again we go to the concrete. We again select the section as a new section, and now I'm providing it for the column. Okay, so I selected, so I'll just do those processes in a little quick manner. So M30 grade of concrete, notional size I'm not going to change. The cross section I'm again providing the same for the given column also. I think it was 500 cross 400 or 450. Anyways. Okay. So as we have provided the modifiers for the beam section, similarly we have modifiers for the columns also. Okay. So for the column section, the modifier value is relatively lower because columns happen to be the axial members also. Okay. Beams are primarily only flexural members, so they will always go through the tension or the cracking on the tensile phase. Whereas with respect to the axial loading, sometimes the cracking can be avoided or it can actually be restrained. So that is why we have a lesser value of the greater value of the modifier for the column section. So this value is 0.7 as per the ACI 318. Okay, so once we have done it, then again we can go to the rebars section. This is for the column, that is correct. We need to select HYSD bars. Then what kind of configuration we are using, rectangular or circular? Based upon that, the confinement bars or the distribution bars, they can be provided. Okay, if you have a circular, then only you will get the option of the spiral bars. Okay, anyways, right now I'm going with the rectangular section. These values I'm not changing at this moment. We will just hope to change them towards the end. Okay. Okay, fine. So once we have defined these two sections, which is beam and column, so they are now appearing here. Okay. Is everyone okay with this part? Is it okay? So then yes, we select it. That means now these sections have been defined. So first thing we did, we defined the material. Then we defined the sections. Okay. Right now I'm only doing a frame section, so I'm not defining slabs. Okay, we'll just do the next problem. In that we will define the slab also. Okay. Next we move to define the loading patterns on the given system. Okay, so before doing the loading, I need to provide the members actually, because right now I have not provided anywhere the members in the system. So in order to provide the member, what I can do, first I can select from here the quick action toolbar which I have. I can select the beam member. So this is the quick draw beam. I can select it. The moment I select this section, on the bottom portion here, it gives me option that what is my beam cross section, which of the beam section I'm using. Okay, so I will go to the property, and here I will select that the beam 1 which I have defined just now, I'm selecting that to be the beam member which I'm working on. Okay, so I have selected beam 1. It is a continuous beam system because right now we don't have anywhere like more than one span, so it does not matter. So then I can just select the beam portion which is over here, and I can provide it. The moment I click here, that means this beam has been provided. Okay, so I don't know if anyone of you can understand this. Earlier it was not a dark line, but now it has come as a solid line here, which means that the beam has been provided there. Is everyone okay with this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, I don't need to provide any other beam. So then I can go to the column section. So here we have a section to draw the columns also. But if you see, the column option is not available to me. Okay, to select the column, it is not available to me. The reason is, right now I'm in an elevation view. Whenever we are in an elevation view, we cannot provide the columns. Either I have to go to the 3D view of the section, there I can provide the columns, or I have to change my section profile to the plan view, then I can provide it. Okay, so easiest is that I'll just go to the 3D view, which is by clicking here. Okay, so if I click here, I come to the elevation view. If I click here, I go to the 3D view. So now this option is available. So I can just go to the quick draw columns. Again, I go to this section where I need to select the property. I select the column 1. So rest of the things are same, like what is the, so if some of the times you want to have a column which is rotated also, that also can be provided. Okay. So then I can just go to this portion and I can provide this column value. Oops, sorry. Okay, so this column member we have provided on these two ends, which is one of the column here and one of the column at this. Okay, so we have identified our section, which is now a frame, a 2D frame. We have selected the material, we have selected the section dimensions. Okay, and we have now only thing left is that we need to provide the support conditions at the base. Okay, so support conditions, in order to change them, what I can do, I can just go to the plan at the base. Sorry. Okay, let me just keep it as a 3D view only. I'll just come over here. So we just go to the plan view on the base. And now on the base, we can look for that there is a possibility to provide support here and at this position. Okay, so I just select these two positions. So this joint as well as the joint B, both are selected. Okay, so which means that I've selected this point as well as the second point. If I don't provide any support, it is by default it provides the pin jointed support. Okay, so I'll just go to the assign option here. Over here, the first option is a joint and then the restraint. So you can just see here in the joint also you have an option to provide the spring or diaphragm sections also. Diaphragm we will see later, but if you go to the restraint, now right now these two joints have been provided as a pin jointed system, so they have only restrainment on the translation. I just want to provide, say, the fixed support over here, so I'll just select the fixed. Now all the degrees of freedom are restrained. I apply it and now it becomes a fixed support. Okay, is it okay with everyone? So now the system has been identified with material, with respect to section, with respect to the geometry and the arrangement of the members. Only thing now which I need to provide in the next part is to apply the loads. Okay, so this is the order which you will make also. First you will define the material, then you will define the sections. Okay, what all, like beam, frame, beam, column or the slab, whatever sections you require, you will define all of those. Then you will come to the system and you will identify that which position is provided by the beam member, which is provided by the column member where you have a slab section. Then you will come and provide your support conditions of the system. Once this all part is done, then you will come to provide your loading on the given system. Okay, now any doubt up to here? So in order to provide the loading, now what I can do, I can, if we have selected this portion, that means wherever I will select on the given member, that member will be selected. Okay, so if I select here, that means which is a beam member of this, sorry. So this is the beam member which is there. So I can select this. Okay, so okay, anyways, so what I will do, I will just work with this plan view sections. Okay, because here both the dimensions are matching somewhere. So we have selected the beam member over here. Okay, now this beam member has been selected. Now I want to apply some loading on top of it. So what I will do, I will go to the assign. Over here in the assign, we have a load, okay, joint load or a frame. Okay. So right now the load which I am trying to provide on the system, that will be a frame load of the given system. Okay, I could also provide the joint load which will act only at a particular. I can also provide as a frame load which will occur on the total span of the beam. I can also provide as a shell load which will act on the total span of a given frame, a given slab. Okay, so right now we are providing the frame load, and let me say that we provide a distribution distributed load. Okay, we can provide a point load also at certain location. Like if you go to the point load, that means it will show you this way. Okay, what is the load pattern? So load pattern means, is it a dead load or a live load? Number one. Secondly, are you providing a force or a moment? Number two. Then what is the direction of the application? If you say gravity, it is automatically downward. Okay, then as you have selected point load, it gives you option that at what location you are putting that load. So it is the relative position, this being 0, this being 1. So if you have a load, say at the middle, at the center, you just provide 0.5 as a distance and you provide the load at that position. Okay, so say for example, I just provide at the middle, so 0.5, and there we provide a load of say 10 kilonewton. Is it okay with everyone? And let me call this as a live load. Okay, fine. So somewhere in the section, the position in the middle of the given cross section, I have provided the loading or the live load of 10 kilonewton. Just so that. Okay, is it okay with everyone? The next thing which I can also provide, say for example, I again select the beam, I go to the assign, go to the frame load, distributed. In the distributed, let me say that distributed load I'm providing as something which is a dead load of the given system. Say some tiles or something else have been provided. So if that is a dead load of the system, so it is again in the direction of the gravity, and I just provide its value, say 5 kilonewton per meter. Okay, so the moment I do it, it appears as a load which is coming on. Oh, I think I selected the previous load has been removed, I think. So this is the load which we have, this is the member which we have selected. We go to the go to the frame load, distributed, and there, while doing it, we can just keep it here that add to the existing load, so that the older load which is already provided, that does not vanish from the given system. Okay, fine, good enough. So this is something which we have done on the given member, and we have provided the loading on the given system in the horizontal, sorry, in the uniformly distributed manner, as well as in the concentrated one point of the system. Okay, any doubt up to here? Is it okay with everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what we can do, either we can provide some more set of loadings on the given system, or similarly, like we can come up with, like if we have just decided this way. Now, if I just want to say define the load combination of the system, okay, because we have a live load as well as a dead load acting on the given system. So I can come here and I can go to the load combinations, and I can add a new combination which is like dead load plus live load. Okay. In fact, as the Indian Standard Code provides some load factors with each of the load combination, so I can provide it also that with the dead load I provide 1.5. I add over it the live load, and I also provide a factor of 1.5. Okay. So this is like I have provided a combination of the dead load plus live load. The moment I put it okay, that means this load combination has been added, and this load combination will be checked for the analysis. So I'll not be doing a simple analysis with respect to only one of it, but I've added both of these loads with a factor of 1.5. In the analysis will be done with respect to that condition. Okay, is it okay with everyone? So what we can do now, we can go to the analysis. Without doing the analysis of the model, we can check whether the model is correct, or are there some points like where the joints are not properly connected, or the support conditions are not properly made. So we can just check the model first. So we select it all, press OK, and it gives you that model has been checked. No warning messages were generated. That means the model which you have created, that model has as of now no problems in terms of any of the unconnected joints or any of the support condition problems. So then you can go to analysis and you can run the analysis. Okay. So right before running the analysis, what it will ask you, it will just ask you to save this given model. So say for example, we just okay, so we have saved the model. Now it will just do the analysis for the given system. Okay, so at the end of the analysis, it gives us that how the deformation shape. So I'll just remove now this elevation view. I'll just show on this 3D view only. Okay. Now the results of this given analysis which has been conducted can be seen. Okay, so you can see now that what actually the system has got as a reaction forces, what are the bending moment diagrams of the given system, or how the deformation shape of the system is there. Even you can check that what are the fundamental frequencies of the given system with respect to only the condition of the loading which you have applied on the member. Okay, so start animation means with respect to the given loading, the system will have this kind of a deflection profile. Anyway, so if you want to see the results, what we can do, we can first provide the elevation view. Okay, so in the elevation view, I'm there right now. This structure looks as the deformed shape system. So in order to make it in a proper shape, what I can do here is an option that I can select the undeformed state. Once I've selected the undeformed condition, then I can go to this particular part in which I can see the it displays the forces, moments, or any other criteria which are provided in the given frame. Okay, so we go to this option. Okay, so out of this now we select that what particular case we are looking for. Okay, so we have provided the combination of the load, dead load, and the live load. So we go to the then we select which of the force or the moment we are looking for. Okay, now here it is important in the ETABS, the moment which is in the direction normal to the y is called as M33. Okay, so this one has to keep properly in mind that the direction of the XYZ in the direction of 1, 2, 3, which it represents in the answers here is not the same. Okay, so we select the moment M33, which is actually the moment corresponding to the given beam system in the normal direction. And this is how we get the bending moment diagram of the given system. Okay, is it okay with everyone? So you can just come down to the values and you can specifically select what are the values at the respective nodes or respective positions. You can also like change the elevation view, like for a particular column, you can just see that what is the bending moment for this. Similarly, for the specific other member also, you can provide what is the bending moment or the shear force values for the given section. Okay. So similarly, if I just want to go here, select here and shear 2 we select. So this gives us the shear force diagram of the given section. Okay. Is it okay with everyone? So once this part is over, like this is a frame system for which we can do an analysis and we can calculate that how the bending moment or shear force values appear in the given section. Okay, is everyone comfortable with this part? If it is okay with all of you, what I can do, I can now move to another problem in which we can provide the complete frame system, a 3D frame system. Okay, any doubts up to here? If you have any doubt, we can have those first and then we can move to the next part. Okay. So if everyone is fine with it, then what we will do, we will just go to the, say, new model. Okay. So I'll just use the settings of the material and the sections which I've defined in the previous model. Okay. So just now the model which I was making, so I'll just take the properties from that model. Okay. So it comes down to this particular page, but already it has taken care of the material and the system. Yeah. Can you hear me, or is there any network issue?
We can hear you, sir.
Yeah. Is it audible to anyone? Can anyone respond if it is audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Audible, sir.
I think there is some internet problem. Yeah. Hello. So is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So would anyone tell me like up to what part was it connected? Because we had some like network issue in the quarter. So I didn't know up to what point I was connected and then it got disconnected. So what were we discussing when it was disconnected? Is it audible?
Sir, the whole analysis was done means you have drawn shear force and bending moment diagram.
Okay, up to that time
So
it
you
was
were
connected.
yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Then it is fine. Okay, so I'll just try to connect it again. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll just try to briefly go through the frame section so that the final process of the analysis and the design both we can see. If in case you figure out any doubt or you have some questions, you just ask me. Okay, that. Okay, so I don't know if it is like visible to all of you now. So is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we were doing, like we have done the problem based upon a simple frame, like 2D frame structure. I have already defined some material and the cross section dimensions in that, which I don't want to lose. Okay, I just want to carry those to the next analysis. So in this particular part, I just selected that. Okay, select. I don't know if you just saw that particular step, so I'll do it again. So we go to the settings and we use the settings from a model file. So in this, we select the model which I just saved right now. Okay, so now I have the material and the cross section properties which I just defined, those are available to me. Okay, in the given grid system, now I can take the grid in both the directions. So say for example, we are just going by the default 4 number of grids in the x direction, 4 in the y. The grid spacing, let us just keep at 8 meter span is too much. So let's keep it as 5 meter only. So 5 meter is the span on, it's a square cross section dimension which we have created. Then in the number of stories, we have provided 4 number of stories. You can even go with the higher. Okay, so maybe once we will do the wind load analysis or the seismic load analysis, there we will even go with 30 to 40 story high. So it will be even making more sense. So anyways, right now let us just say it has 8 number of stories. Typical story height we are selecting as 3. And the bottom story, which may have some basement and other arrangements, so we can keep it as 3.5 or say 4. Okay. Is it okay with everyone? So this is something which I have provided as an input parameter. Okay, but again at this moment I will specify that you can provide your own custom grids also. You can just go to the edit grid data. You can provide here that what is the arrangement of the grid which you want. Okay, if you don't want at a continuous constant spacing, you can even provide your own grid spacings which you prefer. Similarly, the story also means the data related to the all the stories of the building can also be provided by a custom file. Okay, so anyways, right now we are providing the uniform grid spacing part. So this is what we have selected, and then we select the grid only part and we come to it. So this is the kind of structure profile which is available to us. Okay, this is our plan view. This is our 3D view of the section. If at any moment I just want to see the elevation of section, say for example at this level, at the level of B, I want to see the elevation. So I will go here in the elevation section, select the option of the B, and this is what I see. Okay, so wherever the B was there, corresponding to that a line has been drawn. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, all the 4 parts are available to us. Okay, does it make sense? Similarly, I can go to the plan at the base. Okay, so this is the bottom or the base of the given system. If I just want to go to the different levels of the floor, I can just go with this move up in the list option. Okay, so this I go with the z equal to 4. Again, I do it, it goes z equal to 7. So it is moving to the story 1, story 2. This way it is moving from the given system. Okay, so if I just want to go to a particular level, I just go to plan, select that particular story, and that is how we can be at a certain position. Okay, so as far as this system is considered, I think grid and other dimensions, everyone is comfortable, right? Right now, this is just a grid. Okay, so if in case you want to create some, say, opening in the system, okay, so say for example, this happened to be a building, but this part of the section will have some staircase arrangement. So you have still that option available to you. You have not provided any of the beam or the frame column members in the system. You can still provide the option of the staircase or any other openings in the given system. Okay. Now what we will do, sections, we will come to the definition of the material. Material is already defined. If you see here, okay, it is taking some time to open, I don't know. Okay, up to now, any questions or any doubt to anyone? Is everyone okay up to here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we have the material section we have available. Both the materials are available here. So we don't need to define anything new. We go to the section. In the sections, if you see in the frame section, we have already those two, like the beam and column sections, we have those two sections available. Okay. Only thing what I also require in the frame, in the section, I can go to the slab section. I can define now the slab also, because for the given section, we require the different floor levels, so which will be covered by the some dimension of the slab also. So I go to the slab section, we select, say, the slab 1. Okay, I'm just modifying its property. So it is already by the slab 1, something is there, so I'm modifying its properties. So slab 1 material property, I'm selecting M30 concrete. Then notional size we are not taking care of now because we are not providing creep or shrinkage. Okay, then we have a modeling type. Okay, shell, whether it's a thin, thick, membrane or layered. Okay, is anyone doing the plates and shells course out of you? Okay, so I'll briefly explain what these 4 options are available for any slab selection. In general, as I've already told you, the ETABS cannot design the slabs. Okay, so slabs are not designed by the ETABS. It only does the analysis. It takes care of the analysis forces in the given system. But when it comes to the design, you have to separately take design either in a SAFE, which is another slab design software, or maybe you can do it in the SAP. Okay, so if you just see, like okay, so this is any slab portion. Okay, I just provided as a 3D system, so it happens to be a slab. But how do we design a slab system? Does anyone remember, like one-way slab, two-way slab, the way you have designed? What was the basic philosophy of the design?
Sir, the design was like following the beam design only, like considering a 1 meter beam and then designing and then applying for the whole sections. First, we have to check
Right,
whether 2 way or 1 way, then accordingly.
right. So if you, yeah, the way you are saying that is correct. So we consider that some strip of a beam in the given system, based upon which we design the given section. Okay. Now, in general, when the analysis is done for the given slab system, what ETABS does, it goes with the finite element kind of a system. Okay, it doesn't go with the simple beam analogy of the models, but what it does, it considers that the thickness of the given system is comparatively very small when you consider the overall lateral direction. like this dimension of the system or the second dimension, they are correspondingly very large when you see the thickness, which is correspondingly small. So what I can consider, instead of designing the slab as a total object like this, I can consider slab as a simple sheet, right? So it is like saying that rather than having a book, you are just considering that one page of that book is representing the overall behavior of the deformation of the given book. Okay. The moment you do it, what also happens that the representation of these stresses which was acting on the overall cross section of the given system. Okay. So this cross section will have some distribution of these stresses. Say the normal stresses on this, if you draw, so maybe it is some kind of this tensile or compressive variation. If you draw the shear stress distribution on any given face, probably it would be a parabolic distribution. But now once you say that you are not analyzing the system as a thickness ordinate part, but you are simply selecting it as a simple structure, which is a thin sheet now. So the definition of the stress is also vanished at this point. Okay, so the stresses which were defined here are also effectively transferred as the stress resultant. So this is the basic of the beam or beam theory even, which I was saying in the first lecture of the advanced structural analysis, that we convert the given set of forces from the 3D system to the 2D. So the stress which was earlier here sigma x, which was continuously varying across the z direction, which was a function of the z. Now I'm not writing it as a sigma x, but rather I'm saying something as there is a stress resultant, which is the overall integration of the sigma x on this cross section thickness dimension. Okay, so the moment I do this integration, that means what? Now the overall behavior of this normal stress is coming to this particular value. Does everyone agree with this? Okay, so in any given system, what kind of stresses we get? In a simple thin systems, we get set of stresses which we call as sigma x, sigma y. If I say this is y direction, this is x direction, and then we also get a shear stress tau of yx or tau of xy. Okay, is it audible now? Yeah, is it connected now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as I said that for a given system, we have these stresses like sigma x, sigma y, and the shear stress tau xy for a thin system. So when these stresses are converted into the given plane system, they also become stress resultant as nx, ny. And n of xy or n of yx, whatever you say. Okay, both are same. Is this okay with everyone? So this is how we get any given system of the stress resultants, which is different than the representation of these stresses. Stresses are defined on the total thickness, but rather than that thickness, now we are just considering a sheet. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Also, I have said, if you remember the earlier, some of the structural lectures, so the given sigma x about the reference axis will also generate a moment. Okay, if this is a thickness over which there is a stress variation, so any of
So lagging.
actually I'm connected through my phone because the internet staff quarter is not Okay, so we have to like just see for a moment. Okay, hopefully it will be connected now. Okay, so what I was saying that with respect to the sigma x variation, which we have just defined on the cross section, we get the effective resultant, which is like this, but we also get one thing else with the moment of this given system. So we call it as m of x, and it is written as sigma x dot z. Okay, what does it mean? This is sigma x, this is the position at which this stress is acting. So this is generating a moment about the neutral axis. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at any given section now, at any given section, we have the stress resultants, which are nx, ny, and nyx or nxy, and also we mx, my, and mxy as the moments. Okay. This is one. Another thing could be possible that if you consider the system to be little thick, then you will also be required to consider not only the stresses sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy, but also you need to consider tau of xz and tau of yz, which are the transverse shear stresses. Okay. So corresponding to these transverse shear stresses, in this definition again, you will get something as n of xz and n of yz, which we also called as q1 and q2, okay, which are the normal representation of these stresses. Okay, just the basic definition. Okay. Anyways, we are done with this part. Is everyone okay with this definition or not? Just briefly summarize what I mean to say here. If we have a thickness which is sufficiently small compared to the lateral dimensions, we can convert that system into a small thin plate. At the same time, the representation of the stresses which is acting on the overall thickness need to be transferred to the reference surface. Okay. In order to do it, what we get, we come from the definition of stresses to the stress resultant. Okay. So if we have a simple 2D case where we have only in-plane stresses, that means sigma x, sigma y, and tau xy. So corresponding to this system, I can have in-plane stress resultant nx, ny, and nxy. And also they will generate a moment, so I can have mx, my, and mxy system. So it is like considering that nx, ny, and nxy has a nature of stretching the given plate, stretching the given system, whereas mx, my, and mxy has the nature of bending the given system. Okay, so we call this nx, ny, and nxy as a system of stretching, or also some people call it membrane. Okay, membrane means something which is like undergoing the stretching behavior, whereas this part is related to the bending contribution. In addition to it, we also said that if the thickness of this system is not very small is still compared to the lateral dimension, but is still not very small, then the transverse shear stresses will also be significant. In those cases, the transverse shear stresses will also produce the stress resultants, okay, which have been not taken care earlier. So those stress resultant come out as Q1 and Q2. Okay. So now we finally summarize three theories. One is called as a thin plate theory, or thin shell theory, I should say. So thin shell theory considers the representation of nx, ny, nxy along with mx, my, and mxy. So it considers only the in-plane stress resultants and the moments. So both of these, membrane and the bending parts, will be considered. Another is the second case, which is thick shell theory. So thick shell theory considers this part as well as the second part, and along with this, it also considers the transverse shear part. Okay. So whenever you have a thin shell or a thin slab, you go with the thin shell. Whenever you have a thick shell, you go with the thick shell theory. In some of the cases, when you have something which is like you are making a model for a membrane part. Membrane means now you have a system where you are making a tent kind of an arrangement and on top of it you have a very thin composite sheet, okay, and that composite sheet is kind of stretchable, okay. So if that particular kind of a sheet you are making, you don't need to consider this bending behavior of the given system. You can simply consider the total stretching in the system, okay, because in those cases the bending rigidity the system will never introduce. So that is called as a membrane shell. So, and when we have like a multi-layered kind of a system, that is called as a multi-layered shell. Okay. So we have those 4 options in this system. We can select either the thin shell, thick shell, membrane shell, or a layered shell. Okay. I told you that what is the point of considering or selecting any part. If you have a thin system, when you have thin means mostly we consider that if the length to thickness ratio of the system is more than 20, we consider it as a thin, okay. If it is less than 20, we consider that okay, let's have a thick shell in those cases. So modeling type could be thin shell, thick shell, or a membrane in those particular conditions. So right now let me select as a thin, okay. So we selected a thin shell part. The modifiers again we need to select here. So in terms of the modifier, what we are doing, I have already defined here, okay. So F11, F22, F12 are the membrane, which means it is representing the in the formula earlier which I was writing, it is n of xx, n of yy, and n xy, okay, which are the membrane part. Bending part are mxx, myy, and mxy, and these are the shear representation. So we also need to provide the modifiers for the given system, okay, based upon like if we are using the cracking of the system, so we can also modify the properties for the given system. As per the ACI code, the modifier which we use for the slab portions that is 0.25. So I can provide here this modifier value. I hope it makes sense to everyone, okay, what these values are representing. What I'm writing as, so shear we don't need to do because we are considering a thin shell. That means we will have membrane and the bending behavior only. We don't have a shear behavior in the given section. Okay, fine. And now finally we have the thickness. So let me say that I'm providing a thickness of 150 mm, okay, which is kind of a standard among most of the calculations. So let's have it. Okay, fine. Is everyone okay with this all system? Okay, so we have defined the material, we have defined the sections. On the section, beam and columns were already defined. I just defined the frame, slab portion now. Now I just need to define or draw those systems in the given grid arrangement. Okay, so in order to draw it, what I'm doing now, I just go to the quick draw beam section first. I go to the quick draw here. We have selected the beam section, so I can select the property of the beam, which is beam 1. Okay, now see, if I just individually keep on selecting beams, this is a very big structure. Okay, so I cannot keep on doing this exercise for individually each of the member. So we have one option, like at the bottom there it comes as a 1 story or all stories of the system or the similar story. So if I'm only doing it on the 1 story, what I can do, I can select the given section total frame part, and the beam members will be provided on the total story of the given system. If I select all these stories and if I start selecting this given system, the beam members will be provided on all the given stories of the given structure. Okay, so say if I just start dragging this portion from one of the end. Of course, I have selected the quick draw beam section already. Okay, so I've selected it. I have selected the beam 1 portion from here. Then here it has to be all stories, and then I started drawing it. So all the story levels have been provided with the beam arrangement. Okay. In the similar way, I can now select the column, quick draw column section. We can go. Then we can select the specific column part. Okay, and then again I can do here like all stories the way we have selected, we keep it as all stories and then draw the columns. Is everyone okay with this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. One thing which probably some of you are like may have got probably that the dimension of the column is 450 cross 300, I think. Okay. So it may not be possible that every time the dimension has to be kept in one arrangement. Okay. It may be possible that at some of the points I need to rotate the member by 90 degree also. So that particular rotation part can also be done if you like just select this member. Okay. You just select the specific column member here. It has again stuck. So you just select the given column member at any position and then you can just make the angle with the degree form 90 degrees. So what will happen? It will rotate by the 90 degrees. Okay. Anyway, so this is how we can provide the beams and columns in the given system. Now I can also add the slabs in the given portion because slab is also defined. So I can add the slab portion also to the given system. Okay, just I don't know if it is. So we can go to the slab section. So here also we have a quick draw slab portion. We select this. It has already selected as an option of the slab. Then we can just select, oh, sorry. Okay, one issue occurs that if you just select the slab and this is all stories. So what will happen? I select it here. It provides the slab on all the levels, even at the bottom ground floor. Okay, so at the ground floor also it is providing the same slab which you have designed for the story levels. Okay, but that will not be required, right? You don't put a slab on the ground floor of your system. That may be a different foundation slab of the given design, but at the levels of the floor which the slab which you have designed, the same slab will never go to the bottom story. So what we do here, we select the similar stories and we select the similar stories and now we select the specific quick draw frame slab system. So what happens with the similar stories? It leaves the bottom story portion and it is only providing the slab at the different story heights. Okay. So rest everything else is provided, but at the level of, so if any part of it you want to leave for say story or any like staircase arrangement, so that can be left out also. Okay. Is everyone okay with this part?
Yes, sir.
So this is how we have provided the total frame system. Now I finally go to the joint system. So how to provide the joint at the bottom. So first I go to the plan, then I go to the base. Okay. So now we are at the base level. Here I select the overall system. Sorry, no. So we go to the select option first. Then we select the overall section. So what has happened that it has selected all the joints of the given bottom story or the base of the given system. Then I can go to the assign joints and I can provide the restraint condition. By default, all the joints are provided as a pin joint system. We can provide them as a fixed joint system. So all the joints have been provided as a fixed system. Okay. Now, once this process is done, we have now the frame which is provided with the total geometry, all the cross-section dimensions. Now, only thing left is that we need to provide the loading acting on the given member. Okay. So what we can do, we can go first to the plan view. Yes. So now what we can do, we can select the floor at the similar story levels. Okay. So what kind of loading will occur on the given system? One will be the loading which is acting on the slab. Another will be the loading which is acting on the beam members. Okay. Mostly the structural or the live load or the dead load of the system comes on the floors only. Beams are provided with the loading of the walls arrangements. Okay. Yeah. Any question or any doubt up to here? Okay. So what I'll do now, I'll just provide, like in order to provide the loading, what we can do, we can go to the select option. In the select section, we have object type. And out of this, we select the floor levels. Okay. So floors are there. So what happens that it selects the floor at each of the level in the given structure. So you just see here that it has now selected the floor on the topmost story and the lower all the stories of the section. As I have done the similar stories, that means it has not selected at the ground. Okay, because you will not be providing the load at the ground level part. You don't need to design that slab. So we selected this portion. Once we have selected this, then what we can do, we can go to the assign, we can go to the shell loads, because the portion of the slab is already selected. Now I need to provide the load on top of it. If any part of it you don't want to provide as a load, you can deselect that portion also. Okay, so you can only select the system partially, or you can select only part of the given section. That possibilities. Okay, anyway, we go to the shell load. Say we are providing the uniform load on the given system, UDL. Say dead load, if you are providing as a system of the tiles or other arrangements which are done on the floor level. So we say that 1.5 kilonewton per square meter, that is the dead load which we have provided, acting in the direction of the gravity. On top of it, we also, so we have already provided the dead load now, but this selection has been like removed. So what I can do, either I can again go to the select and do the same process of selection, or in the shortcut I can go here and get the previous selection. Okay, so whatever I have selected earlier, the same selection will appear. Again I go to the assign shell loads uniform, and in the dead load we have provided the load amount. In the live load we can add, say, a load of, so you can just check once that as per the IS code, what is the condition for the loading on the different levels of the floor. Okay, so right now it's a 8 students, so all the levels will have load. So we can keep at it as a 3 kilonewton per square meter. Okay, fine. So this is how we have now the load which is available as a 3 kilonewton per meter, which is the live load of the system. Okay. Similarly, now you can also set the, and you can also apply the load on those beam members. Okay, so beams will be subjected to the loading due to the walls which are appearing on them. Okay, so say for example, if you just want to select the beam member, I can do here the similar stories are selected, so I can just start selecting all the beams. Okay, either you can provide the interior and exterior beams the same load, or there may be possibility that some of the interior beams are provided with lesser amount of load, whereas the exterior beams are provided with a greater amount of load. So both the possibilities exist. So right now I've selected all the beams. Now I will just do the assign load that also we are providing. Okay. This distributed load, let me just consider that it has to be, say, the dead load acting on the system. So we provide it as an intensity of, say, 5 kilometers. Okay, but it has to be calculated based upon that what is the unit weight of the given wall, and based upon the total height of the story, uh, distributed load of the wall which is appearing on the beam members. Okay. Okay, fine. So is everyone okay with this part? Okay.
Sir, I think your screen has got stuck. I don't know if it the problem is with me only. Could anyone please confirm?
Yes, sir, it has got stuck. Sir.
So sir, it got stuck at live
Okay,
load.
I'll do it again.
Yes, sir.
Is it appearing now?
It's loading, sir. Wait, means
I'll unshare first.
Sir,
Just
your
available now
voice
or
is
not?
also cracking regularly.
Actually, yeah, I am connected through my mobile network. Okay, because this internet connectivity, I'll just try. If the internet has restored, I'll just try once again. Yeah. Is it now clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, the voice.
I think because now we are connected to the institute network, so hopefully it will be better. I think now. Yeah. Is the screen visible to everyone now?
No, sir.
Or not visible still? Just a minute. I'll rejoin. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Okay. So we'll not take much time now. Okay. We'll just try to summarize the major part of it. Okay. So what I did, I just like once I provided the live load on the given slab. After that, I selected all the beam members. Okay. Here also it has to be selected like all the stories, and then I went to the assign frame load distributed, and there I provided the 5 kilonewton per meter dead load of the given beam members. Okay. So this is with respect to the weight of the wall which is appearing on the beam members. Okay, fine. I think we can complete the model with this part. Okay, right now we are not providing the wall arrangements because primarily we consider the system to be a skeletal structure. So walls should not contribute to the stiffness of the given system. Okay, so now with respect to the given analysis, if I simply try it, whether the analysis model is correct or not, we go to check the model, select all, and then okay. So the model has been checked and no warnings were generated. That means now I can run the analysis. Okay. So this gives us the analysis in this manner. Okay, I'll just come to the 3D form. If I just look at the undeformed shape, it is of this kind. Then we can make that from here we can see the bending moment diagrams of the system. So we come to this part. Oh, sorry, I didn't provide the load combination earlier. Okay, so you can still see that we can define the load combination and that can also be provided. So if I provide the load combination part and then we apply, so this is how the bending moment diagram appears. Okay, the bending moment diagram in all the beams and frame members of the system, beam and column members. If it is getting little like typical to see, what you can do, you can go here and you can select like only say the beam member you remove, you can unselect that. So now only the column members will be seen with their bending moment distribution. Okay, so you can see it on the elevation view also. Okay, so this is how it appears in the given section. Okay. Is it okay with everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, once this part is done, so you can see a number of things out of it. Okay, like you can also see that how the slab portions are subjected to the stress distribution. Like with respect to this, you can go here, which is the shell forces. So now you can see in the given slab portions, what are the different forces. So F11, F22, F12 is the same set of forces which I was just talking in terms of NXX and YY or NXY form. Okay, so if I just do F11, okay, so I get a distribution in this manner, which means the distribution of the color, which is with respect to this scale, will tell us that whether the given system is subjected to the greater stresses or not. Okay, so much of the part appears green here, which means that it is very close to zero value. Okay, so F11 does not happen to be the major direction of the stress which we are generating in the given slab portion. Okay, I again go to the same F22 we write. Okay, so F22 portion is also nearly negligible in the intermediate slab portions. So that means that much of the slab portions are unstressed. Okay, you can then select your M22 or M11 portions also, and with respect to the bending moment, you will see that there is relatively little more values of the stresses, which bending contributions of the stress resultant, which is appearing in this. Okay, is it okay with everyone? Okay. So we are not able to like deduce completely that what all you can make out of these set of results, but always keep in mind that there are so many like good plots out of it, but unless you cannot make exact sense out of these results, it is not helpful. Okay, so whatever analysis you are doing, at the end you see the results very clearly. Try to run a problem which you already know. Say for example, a problem which we have done in the class, you try to run that, see that whether you get the similar results or not. Once you get it, then you try to draw a little complicated problem of this kind, see the distribution of the stresses, and try to see that what is actually happening at the different levels of the floor. Okay. Okay, is everyone okay with this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so once we have done this modeling, the model gets logged also. So if you want to change anything in the system, you have to unlock the model, then only you can make those changes. Okay, if you make any of the changes in the initial input parameters. Second thing is, if I want to now design the given section, if I want to check whether the design of the given section can be done or not with respect to the area of reinforcement, what I can do, I can go to the design portion here. Okay, we are doing this as a design of a concrete frame system, so we go to the concrete frame design. First we will do that what are our preferences. Okay, what are the design specifications which we are selecting. Okay. So this is the specification which are by default selected because we have selected the Indian Standard Code, so it selects the IS code for the design also. Okay, majorly we need to worry about two parameters here. One is the load factor, the material factor for the steel and the concrete part. So 1.15 and 1.5, these are as per the Indian Standard Code. If you are considering P delta effect, which is for the large deformation, that also need to be verified. Okay, but unless you are not doing the large deformation analysis or the P delta effect in the given system, you can consider rest of the values as it is. So if it is correct, that means the IS code is correct and the values of the material parameter is selected properly. Then you can go to the next step, that you can select the rebars for the column. Okay, so I was telling you earlier that when we were defining those, there also we have that option, but here we can now select them finally. Okay, so here it gives us option that what is the longitudinal bars smallest dimension you are going to select, and what is the longest time, what is the largest dimension. Okay. So say I just selected as 12 mm bar, 28 will be too much for the system, so let me just select up to say 20 mm. Okay, the ties which we are providing in the system, they can be of the 8 mm diameter. 20 largest is too much, so let us just provide it as 14, or I should say 12, 8 to 12 also. Minimum spacing, let us just leave it as the classification. Okay, so these criteria you will be selecting based upon the design requirement. If you are designing a requirement with, say, the spacing of specific amount, so you can provide these values here. Okay, we are not doing the design for the seismic requirement as of now, so this detailing portion we will not change. Okay, we are not changing this portion because this is not affecting our design at this moment. Okay, sorry. Then we again go to the design and we select for the beam portions. Okay, so for the beam, the top rebar and the bottom rebar, we need to select that what is the smallest dimension. So let us select the smallest dimension to be 10 mm, the largest bar dimension, say 22. Okay, preferred bar size, we are just keeping 16 mm diameter bar. Okay, I hope that the set of loading which we are using, those are not very high, so it should not be much problem. Okay, you may be thinking that why we are defining so many of these parameters, because when people are doing the analysis for, say, certain site or some actual design portion, so they are very much decided already that these are these particular sizes of these steel bars which they will be working. Okay, so it may not be possible that for a project which you are doing somewhere, so you will be using so many combinations of the reinforcement diameters. You will use it in such a way that the same reinforcement diameter can be used for the column sections, beam sections, or maybe for some other works also. Okay, unless you are not requiring it especially for a different work, you don't go with the very new sections which are not used up to now. Okay. Similarly, the stirrup dimension also we are keeping at 8. The largest we are keeping as, say, 614. Spacing 600 is much more than the section dimension, so let us keep it as 300. Okay, these are again the seismic requirements which we are not changing at this moment. Okay, so we have just selected something based upon that what is our requirement for the beam and the column designs. Okay, now based upon this we can go to the design and we can go to the design of the concrete frame section. The next thing which we have, that is the design combinations. Okay, so in the design combination, already this design combination is appearing here, which is dead load plus live load, which I've just defined earlier with the factor of 1.5. So out of this list of combination, we can select this one. Okay, so from here I have to move it to the right hand side to the design combination which we are considering. Okay, so once this whole part is done, what we can do, we can start the design check. Okay, okay, fine. So what I will do, we will try to see it in a so there is a design display info here. We will go to the reinforcement. So rather than seeing the area of the reinforcement, what I will do, I will just see the rebar percentage. Okay, what is the percentage of the rebar in all the members? Okay, and let us just see at the elevation level first, so that we can see that what is actually happening at the level of different portion. Okay, fine. So can everyone see now this particular part?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does this mean? That we have provided the reinforcement in the given section, and that reinforcement percentage we have calculated. Okay, so what is the maximum percentage of reinforcement for the column and beam members as per IS 456?
Sir, 4 to 6%, I think.
Right. For beam members, we keep maximum up to 4%. We should not have a more than 4% reinforcement rebar percentage in the beam. And for columns, we can go maximum up to 6%. Okay, so now you see there that some of the columns are actually very close to being overstressed. Okay, these are having 5.5% of the reinforcement. Okay, but still the overall section does not appear to be unsafe. Okay, we have provided the section, and this has the reinforcement with respect to like different column sections and the different levels. It has been provided. So you can now check the given section and provide the reinforcement according to the rebar percentage which has been calculated. Okay, so if you just want to see like whether the design, what is the area of the reinforcement, so you can again go here and you can select what is the longitudinal reinforcement, and that reinforcement area will be provided here. Okay, the value which is seen on the upper part is the reinforcement on the upper flange. The value which is shown below, that is the reinforcement on the bottom flange. Okay. Is everyone okay with this part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. So what I'll do, I'll just stop at this point. Okay, we will just see that if you are comfortable with this content, maybe if you are fine with it, with the basic definitions of defining load, defining the section or the material parameters, the next part of the system where we will define the loads corresponding to the wind or the earthquake parts will be much more easier.